Hi, welcome again to Eat Well, a program of OSF Healthcare supported by a grant from Illinois Critical Access Hospital Network. And today we're featuring cauliflower. So cauliflower is a great vegetable. It's pretty versatile. You can eat it raw. It's great with dips. It's great added to salads or any cold dish like that. But it can also be cooked. You can steam it. You could put it in the microwave. You can boil it if you want. You can roast it. Gives it a whole different flavor. You put it in the oven and roast it till it gets nice and toasty brown. You can add it to some vegetables that you're going to put on the grill, just a little olive oil or some other marinade. It can be pureed and used as a substitute for mashed potatoes. So we have a lot of ways that we can eat cauliflower. And today we're going to be making very veggie cauliflower fried rice. So our cauliflower today is substituting for the fried rice. And then we're going to add a variety of vegetables to that. So we're going to have a really vegetable dish for our meal today. Cauliflower is very high in vitamin C. It has a lot of other vitamins as well. Vitamin K, folate, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, riboflavin, thiamine, niacin, and it is for 1 cup of cauliflower you have 25 calories. You can see it's very low in calories. It's also high in fiber. It has 1 gram of fat. I was amazed to find out that cauliflower actually had fat, but it does have the omega-3 fatty acids, so it's the kind of fat that we really want to add to our diet. And then there are 5 grams of carbohydrate in 1 cup of cauliflower. So 78% of the calories actually do come from the carbohydrates. So still a great food for us for a variety of reasons. We're going to have to cut up our cauliflower today. We're going to rice it. So we're going to put it through this food processor. You could use a hand grater if you wanted to do that, or you can actually purchase already riced cauliflower in the frozen section of your supermarket. That does increase the cost of your food significantly. Probably the same amount of cauliflower would be close to about $9 if you were buying it already riced. So we're definitely going to save money by doing it ourselves. And if you don't have a food processor, use a hand grater. It's going to take a little extra time, but you're going to get the job done. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that we do our hand hygiene. You know, soap and water is always best, but our demo kitchen doesn't have its own sink, so we are using the hand sanitizer. And then I'm going to be wearing gloves today. I know that you won't be doing that at home. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut up the cauliflower so that I can get it into my food processor. And that's really the first step. This recipe goes pretty fast, so you want to make sure that you have everything cut up and on hand when you're ready to start cooking. I'm just trying to make sure I get this cut up into pieces that are going to go down into my food processor. So I may have to do a little more cutting, we'll see. All right. So you can see how it's up. Looks like we're getting it riced. Getting a little bit here and there, but hopefully we'll get it all riced up pretty nicely. So you can see it goes pretty quickly with the food processor. We're going to add 1 cup of onion, and we're going to add 1 cup of frozen peas or peas and carrots. So we have the peas and carrots. But then you want to add 2 cups of other vegetables. So that might be spinach like we've chosen here today, might be kale. We're going to also add some mushrooms and some broccoli. But you could add snow peas or additional carrots or just anything that you wanted. So cabbage, it would be good, bean sprouts, just so you have at least 2 nice cups. You wouldn't really have to cut the spinach. You could leave it whole because as you cook it, it does shrink down, but I'm gonna make it just a little bit smaller today. And I'm gonna cut up a couple of mushrooms here. So if you want to just slice them really thin, you can, or if you'd rather chop them, it depends on how you want to find them in your fried rice. So I think I'm going to leave mine in bigger slices today. So everything else has already been measured out for me. So we're going to get our heat on and get ready to start cooking. So now I've got my pan, everything is chopped and ready to go. So it's right here within easy reach because like I said, we're going to get started, and the recipe can be found at www.osfhealthcare.org/recipes. Our recipe says that we're going to use some olive oil, about a tablespoon, but we're going to divide that. So at first I'm just going to be using about 1.5 teaspoons in my pan because I'm going to start with cooking the eggs. And really all we need is just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. So we need to go ahead and beat our eggs up. So while that pan is getting hot, I would start with medium-high heat. And then if you need to turn it down, if you see that, things are getting a little hot, then you can turn that down. Okay, I'm going to beat the eggs up. So you just want to stir your eggs around. There's really no need to make them look great like an omelet. We're really basically wanting a scrambled egg. Now, I have done these at the end and scraped everything over and put them in. And I find that works well. It doesn't look as pretty. So today we are going to go ahead and cook them before so that we have our eggs and they look really pretty when we present our dish. So that's up to you. I do still use the one pan. We're just going to wipe this out when we get done with the eggs. And then we'll add some more oil. That's why we're dividing it, because we're going to be cooking kind of in stages. The eggs are adding some protein to our veggie fried rice. It's traditional to put eggs in it. If you wanted to make this with some meat, you could. It would be fine with chicken or pork or beef or seafood. Pretty much any of that's going to work well, but we just want to have the vegetable fried rice today. So again, I'm just going to wipe the pan out. And then we're going to add a little more oil. Again, probably about 1.5 to 2 teaspoons, just enough to kind of coat the bottom of the pan. And then we're going to get our vegetables in there to start cooking. So the cauliflower, we're going to add that a little bit later. We're going to get all these. So I've got a cup of onions. And I'm going to check our recipe to make sure I get everything else in here. So we want 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. So those were already minced up. Then we're going to add our frozen peas and carrots. There's no need to have those thaw out. We can just dump those right in. As you're stirring them around, they're going to go ahead and thaw out. And you really don't want them to be mushy. You really want your vegetables to stay kind of crisp tender. So we've got these, and then we're going to add that 2 cups of additional vegetables. So we've got our broccoli, and we've got spinach and mushrooms that we're going to put in here. So as we cook it, we're going to smell some of these other vegetables. So we're going to want to let these cook for a while. Again, medium-high heat unless you feel that things start to get where you feel it's either smoking or starting to smell too hot. Then you can turn it down to a medium heat. But right now we're doing just fine. So we're going to let these cook, and as they're cooking, then I'm going to add them to the egg. But if your egg isn't broken up real well, this is a time you can kind of hit it with a spatula and get it so that it's in smaller pieces. So we'll be ready to serve that way. When we add our cauliflower, that's when we're going to add our seasonings. So what we're going to be using to season it is soy sauce. We're using a low sodium soy sauce, and then we're using ground ginger. The recipe says you can use a tablespoon of ginger root, which sometimes is difficult to find at the supermarket, and you do get it. It does look like a root. It's not very attractive, but it's got a great smell and gives a lot of flavor to your food. So you'd want to use a tablespoon. But if you're using ground ginger like we have, 1/4 of a teaspoon is equal to 1 tablespoon of the ginger root. So we're not going to be using all of this ginger. And then we're also going to be using some hot pepper flakes. So those are optional. Kind of use it to your taste. Our recipe says 1/4 to 1/2 a teaspoon. You might not want it at all, or you might want more than that. It just depends on how spicy you like for your fried rice to be. Because again, this is going to be very comparable to a fried rice product that you would get at your local restaurant, or if you were making fried rice at home. We're also using sesame oil. So you can get roasted sesame oil. It's maybe not something that everybody has in their pantry, but you can't really substitute a different oil for the taste. We're not using this to cook it in like we are the olive oil. We are using it for the flavor of the sesame. So if you don't have that, or you don't want to purchase it, you might try using a packet like this. It says fried rice seasoning mix. And in that case, you would use this, and it usually tells you to add some soy sauce to it. So you would not need the red pepper, the ginger, or the sesame oil. You could use the packet. Buying a packet as opposed to buying a bottle of this is going to be cheaper. Of course, this is going to last longer, and you can use it for other things. So that's just a personal preference. I've used both ways, and we seem to like it either way. So we're going to dump those in. And we don't have to clean the pan out after this, but we are going to add just a little bit more oil. Again, about 1.5 to 2 teaspoons. So in the course of the whole dish, we're using about a tablespoon of the oil. So you can see that this dish makes a lot of fried rice. So if you have a smaller family, then maybe you only want to use about half the recipe. But I don't mind having leftovers. It's great to take for your lunch, or it makes a good snack for the kids after school. So when we get the cauliflower in our pan, we're going to add our seasonings. So if you were using the frozen cauliflower, it's going to take a lot less time to cook. Just because it's already prepared, and so you can put it in frozen, and probably in about 2 minutes you're going to be ready to put everything back together. But this is going to take us quite a bit more time because we want this to get soft. So we're going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of the ginger. We're using the dry ginger, and we've got some red pepper flakes. Again, kind of do this to your own taste. Everybody has a little bit different preference, and some people wouldn't want any of the red pepper flakes. At my house, we'd probably add more because my husband really likes the spicier dishes and the heat from the red pepper flakes. So I'm going to stir those in, and now then we're going to add our soy sauce. I think it's 2 to 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, and this is something that if you're serving this, you might want to have the soy sauce on the table because some people are going to prefer to have more of that soy sauce flavor in there. And then we're also adding the sesame oil. So we're going to add 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of this. So I only have 1/4 of a teaspoon measure, so we'll be adding a couple spoons of that. So we're going to let this cook. Our final step is going to be to put it all back together, And by that time, we just really need to stir it so that it's ready to go. Again, I think just having the vegetables is great, but you can add meat if you want, so you'd want to have that already cooked. Either do that as your first step or have it already ready, and then you could add it when we put everything back together to stir it in. This is kind of a quick meal and everything's in one dish. So nice quick lunch or a nice quick supper. This really is designed for 4 servings. So you can see that you're going to get a pretty large plate of food with this. If you wanted to use it as a side dish instead, you would be able to feed more people. But as a whole meal, this dish is 4 servings. And 4 low-calorie, very healthy servings. So we're getting a lot of vegetables in this dish. And if you wanted more vegetables, you could, I think the 2 cups of additional vegetables plus the cup of onions and the cup of peas and carrots make a nice mix. But again, you could kind of do that to your own taste and choose the vegetables that your family prefers. So I think I'm ready to put these back in. And we're just going to get them stirred around so that they're mixed up well. So I'm actually going to scoop some up and see how it tastes. All right. So it looks like I've got a nice serving here. I'll set that over there. Have a little bit of all the types of vegetables. We'll turn our burner off here. So let's see how this tastes. Okay, very tasty. The first time I served this at my house, my husband didn't realize it wasn't rice. I put a little extra soy sauce, and so he really got that soy taste. And he actually enjoys this, and he does not like cauliflower. So that's been a really good thing for us to find a way for him to eat cauliflower. So I hope you enjoyed today's Eat Well, and go to www.osfhealthcare.org for this and many more healthy recipes.